Hey friends, it's Kenlyn and welcome back to my channel for the Astro and Energy Report for the week of February 16th. While it's a quiet astrological week, we are really in the aftermath of a very big storm. So I don't know about you, but myself, others that I've been speaking to have gone through massive upheaval, change. It can be from an accident to a breakup, to a move, to an argument, just square energy, like pounding heads energy. Something's got to give energy. And now we're in the aftermath of it. It doesn't mean that it's solved. It means that whatever it was is unearthed. And we now know what we're dealing with. And it's up to us to pick up the pieces, to reconstitute our identity, and to move forward with the knowledge, the information about what it is we're letting go of and what it is we're no longer here to tolerate. That's a very big theme in this week. So let me present a couple of astrological things, and then I'm going to talk about how we can walk through aftermath, like this charred earth or flooded earth or the wreckage, in such a way that we become the spiritual warrior, the spiritual ninja, because that is what this time is calling for. And if we don't use it for that, it's very easy to devolve into blaming, into shaming, into depression and anxiety. I've just seen it. So this is really a call to use the discipline. You have very limited control over life, but we do have control over what we feed in our minds. And that's going to be a major touchstone for this activation this week. So as I'm recording this, the sun is in Aquarius and it moves into Pisces in 2 days, the 18th of February, early in the morning Pacific time. And that sun is going to join Mercury. It's going to join Saturn, the North Node, Neptune. There's just a party going on in Pisces. And so let's count that as our blessing, because the upside of Pisces is oneness. It's the mystical. It's seeing the other as you. The downside of Pisces, the shadow, is checking out, like, I'm out of here, either using drugs, using alcohol, working out at the gym, or watching Netflix, which maybe none of those things in and of themselves are harmful or unhealthy. But when your come from place is to check out, it may not serve you. So you get to inquire deeper, because stillness, silence, solitude is what's going to happen where we want to go when we're going to bring in the new moon. Because, by the way, we have an eclipse coming up. That eclipse is going to start with a full moon lunar eclipse. And that means that it goes to the prior new moon to get initiated. And that's coming up at the end of this month. So really, eclipse season starts at the end of this month. So we are preparing for a wormhole within a wormhole within a wormhole. Someone used the term today in our membership group called the bardo. And I think that's a very good term. The bardo is that liminal space between worlds. It doesn't just happen between one incarnation and death and another incarnation. It's happening now, here and now, as we morph into a new people with new codes. This is my moon and you. And if you haven't downloaded this, you're welcome to grab it. So February, we had that big full moon in Leo. And here's what's happening. The new moon is happening in Pisces on the 27th. And I presence this stillness, silence, and solitude as the doorway to the mystical. So we can even start now going inward as one of our touchstones of how do we deal with the aftermath of this wreckage from the squares of last week. Then here we know we've got that full moon, total lunar eclipse happening on March 13th. And then the wormhole ends with a new moon in Aries on the 28th. So yeah, grab the moon in you so that you have that guide and that you can enter into your own level of contemplation while I'm giving these transmissions. So the other big move that will be happening is Venus will be stationing retrograde on the 1st of March. And I'll talk more about that later, but it's implicating a story now. Because Mars, that change agent, severing, cutting agent that has disrupted so much, kind of like the agent of Pluto around the election and prior to that, the wars, that's that Pluto opposite Mars. And Mars has been retrograde in Cancer, just bringing up all kinds of emotional material personally and then collectively. That Mars that's been hanging out in Cancer is going to station direct on the 23rd. So 1 week from this recording. Now he's going to stay at 17 degrees of Cancer for a little while. It's going to be very slow, but it is moving forward. And I believe it's somewhere in April, it's going to move into Leo. And we'll be done with that Cancer area of your chart. Cancer, y'all have been just hammered in some area of your life with this Mars. Everyone has. And Cancer, the cardinal signs have really, really taken it. That's Cancer, Capricorn, and Aries and Libra. And you guys had it even from the North Node. I mean, we've all had it, but I just want to give a shout out. So, interestingly, Mars is in the sign of the feminine, right? Cancer, the moon. Venus right now is in Aries, and Aries is Mars's sign. And one of them's retrograde, the other one's stationing retrograde. So they're actually like flipping. They're in each other's territory, taking time to be still and silent and inward with the message. It's been a big shit show for the United States, as we call it, brotocracy, this really ultra wounded masculine on the scene, which I think by the time we get to Venus retrograde in Aries, we might start seeing the pendulum swing to a feminine backlash, because Venus in Aries is responsible for that sub-zero experience, like no more. I'm not having it. That's what's showing up in relationships now. And she's in her pre-retrograde shadow. So I can hear some people saying, I've put up with this long enough. I am no longer available for it. And that is causing earthquakes, tsunamis inside of relationships. And we know that last week was the squares, these big earthquakes, but I'm in earthquake country in California, and a big earthquake is followed by a bunch of little earthquakes. So these little earthquakes, but now we can kind of understand them because we're exercising our volition, our sovereignty, and that's what Aries is standing for. So Venus in Aries is a very fiery sign. She's not going to give a shit. She's done. So whatever she has been compromising in the areas of money, relationships, love, she's just over it. So we're also going to see more of an expression of our sexual self. It can get more provocative. It can get more risque. It can test the bounds, because she's just saying, like, I get to be me. You're not the boss of me. You know? So very interesting. Let's see what happens, because Mars is almost like it's a handoff to Venus. And I think what's really happening here is that the old rules, the old societal constraints and restrictions that we've internalized of how we act as man, woman, as couple is breaking down, just like everything else is breaking down, like the government is breaking down. That's part of the cross of planning in human design. It actually ends in 2027. That's responsible for all the government institutions. So these things have been like foretold that we were going to go into this period. So likewise, what if we also are going into a period where the way that we have conceived of relationships, and my Venus is in Capricorn, so I'm not saying this because it's coming through me. I'm saying it because I'm reading the tea leaves, you know, that what's happening is something new that wants to come through in our way of relating. And that makes sense, because Aquarius really isn't about hierarchy. Aquarius first, its mantra is friendship even before lovers, you know, community, maybe multiple lovers, maybe gender fluid. That's more of an Aquarian way of being. And we have 19 years to figure that out. But here we are with the Mars retrograde, the Venus retrograde, already starting us to shift. So the agreements we've had as married people, couples, are breaking down. Maybe the silent concessions that we've made are now no longer silent. They are blaring loud in our head. And we're like, you know what? I can't make that concession anymore, like for the children or for the family or for money. It's big, it's powerful. And I honor each and every one of you and all of us for being human and playing this game. It is not easy. And this is a segue into our spiritual warriorship. Like, if there's ever a time, my friends, to bring your practices forward, it is now, because it's all an inner game. Who you get to be comes from the inside. Like, I don't know if you've noticed, we cannot control anything that's going on out there. We can't control our partner. We can't control our kids. We really can't. but we can control what we feed with our energy, what we feed with our attention. And I think that's part of the cataclysmic change that's happening. Things that have heretofore drained our energy are being cut, Mars severed, and Venus will take it from here, and she'll be the salve, and she'll put the ointment on. And then we get to go into that 40-day retrograde period. That's a very auspicious number, but Venus goes into retrograde for 40 days, and we get to be with her. She goes into the underworld. It's the Anana theme, and I'll bring that up in the next few videos. She's going to disrobe. She's going to take off her crown. And she's going to get reconstituted, remade. And that story of Anana is so that she ascends, she rises as queen of the heavens and the earth. It's like, women, sisters, it is time to take our rightful place. We've done a lot to hold the peace. We've compromised a lot to make nice. And some of that is wise. And some of that has cost us hard. And so we get to discern, when is it wise to shut my mouth and just let things unfold? When is it wise to say, no? This is our discernment, and we're in the cauldron of that. And everything that doesn't serve is burning off. And even things you think serve and they're burning off. The only story I'm left with is, I guess they didn't serve. So the last thing to presence is that with this move, the sun into Pisces, we have a stellium. We've got Mercury, we've got the sun, we've got Saturn, Neptune, the North Node in Pisces, acting as one. So that sun, the radiance of who and what we are, Mercury, the mind, Saturn, the responsible teacher that holds us to dot our I's and cross our T's, is with Neptune. Who's the ruler here? Neptune. That's Neptune territory. And what does that mean? Neptune's conjunct the North Node, meaning you get to dream a new dream. All of this loss, all of it was to reinvent you to dream a new dream. That's what Neptune's doing. And what is the new dream? It's love. We presence that today in the membership workshop. It's love. It's love. When someone was saying, when their mother died and they didn't get along with their mother, when their mother died, what is left? None of that shit matters. It's love. It's love. My friend I was on the phone with last night, whose wife was killed in a tragic accident, he's like, what are you left with? Love. That is Neptune in Pisces, giving us the gift before Neptune moves into Aries. It's really communicating with this North Node as they are acting as one to give us the codes of a new future, a future that doesn't have to have people die for you to know that it's love. Love always wins. Love always wins. Say that to yourself. Give that to yourself. That's the biggest thing you can do right now. You cannot control this outside world, and it's fated. It's supposed to happen. It's written. But how we show up inside of it is free will. It's choice. So we have that stellium in Pisces. We've got Chiron, the wounded healer, hanging out with Venus in Aries. So Chiron's going to make sure that Venus, and I love this because the feminine has been maligned, murdered, beaten down, silenced, killed. So what if this Venus retrograde in Aries, a new beginning, Aries, power, sovereignty, ministered to by Chiron. It's like, sister, come here. You're going to shed all of that. That's what's there for us. And in a close pattern, we've got Uranus and Taurus, and we've got Jupiter and Gemini. We've got over the other side, we've got Pluto and Aquarius. So they're packed. The signs are packed in one section of your chart because there's work to do in those houses. You don't even have to know what it is. Trust it. It's happening. It's happening in here as a projection out there. And I'll say one more thing, that this Chiron in the gene keys and human design is implicating gene key 51. And that 51 is about shock. It's about the way that we can't move forward because we're so shocked in the upheaval that the shoe has dropped. I know people are dealing with very big things like shock. Like I lost my whole house in the fire. I lost my whole house in the flood. That's like shock. Or my partner who I thought we were going to grow old together is gone or leaving. Things like that. Or so-and-so that I love so much is dead. That shock, that gate 51, that's where Chiron is, dealing with these shocks. And one thing that's coming through is that Chiron is actually bringing through the shock waves that we felt from our ancestors, because our ancestors have been through huge things like wars. And they carried all that in their DNA. And part of our work now is to clear it. So I hope you sense your assignment here. It's deep healing. It's deep inward. It's meeting it. It's going there. It's experiencing so that it dissolves. Neptune in Pisces can make it dissolve. So trust what's happening, even if it's so uncomfortable. I'm right with you. Let's gather all the positive energy that we have generated, this high frequency, this high context, and let's beam it out to the people who don't know, to the people who do know so they remember, and wrap everyone in their own essence, in their true essence. And may all beings benefit from the merits of our efforts. Thank you.